Hello everyone, my name is Gonzalo. I'm a web developer from Spain, but in my free time I usually do some Unity projects and I mess around with some character controllers and some demos. So in this video I will show you quick and easy first person controller that I've made. Everything is modular, so you can enable and disable every single aspect of it and modify every single aspect of it. So if I open it up, as you can see, the first thing that we see is this testing map. This might be a technical demo. So okay, so first of all we can press escape and jump into the settings. So, as you can see, we can change every single aspect from the camera, the stances, the movement, the jump, the sliding, and the control scheme. So, if we go into the camera, we can adjust the sensitivity. It's separate for horizontal and vertical. So, I can have very low horizontal sensitivity, but normal or high vertical sensitivity. I will turn it back to 75, so I can invert the X and the Y, so left is right and up is down. This is so confusing. But I know a lot of people uses invert Y, so this is for those who want it. We can change the field of view from 45 minimum to 120 maximum. I like it at 110. We can enable and disable the zoom. So if we go into the controls, you can see the zoom key is the set by default, but we can change it to whatever button we want. So this set key is my favorite for this, just because zoom starts with the letter Z. So if we go into the camera, we can see the speed is the speed at which the zoom in happens and the zoom out happens. And the multiplier is the amount of zoom, so 10 times will be this. And if I press the set key, you can see I zoom in. One thing, you maybe can't see it on the recording, but if I zoom in, you can see maybe the sensitivity stays the same as if I were not zoomed in. So I can disable that. So if I now zoom in, you can see the sensitivity is way higher, just because this is the normal sensitivity that you will have while zoomed out. But when you zoom in, as the field of view narrows, the sensitivity feels way higher. But that's why I have this check here, the effect sensitivity, so now it should feel exactly the same. Now, some people have told me that 10 speed is a bit dizzying, just because it's a bit slow, but you can turn it up maybe to 20 and it would be like a bit more instant. Maybe, yeah. So I can change the multiplier, so 16 times. One thing that I've noticed that I haven't noticed before is if I turn down the field of view and I zoom in, the zoom will be way higher than if I had maybe 120 field of view. So that's something I should have to take into consideration. To change, just because it may be a bit unbalanced for some games. The fact that you can narrow the field of view so you can see further, but maybe you can lock the field of view maybe at 100 and don't have the possibility to change it via the settings. So you should have I fixed field of view and I fixed some zoom level. So yeah, then I will hop into the head bobbing. So as you can see, if I walk and run, the head bobs up and down. I can disable this by unchecking the enabled. So now I don't like no head bobbing just because it feels like the player is floating. So I will enable it. I can speed up the sine wave, so this should be way too fast. And I can also turn up the amplitude, so this would be like maybe having a seizure or something. I don't recommend this, but you can change it up to 1 and down to 0, so no amplitude means no head bobbing also. I like these settings, 3.25 and 0.07 for the amplitude. I think it feels more natural. And the reset speed is the time it takes for the camera to reset back to its original position. 10 is good for me. Then head leaning. As you can see, when I turn my mouse left and right, the head leans in the Z axis, if I'm not mistaken. So some people might find it a bit, I don't know, dizzying too. You can disable it also. As you can see, there's no head leaning anymore. You can also turn up the speed, which makes it like weird, and you can turn it down also, which feels like not having any, but if you can tell, it's a bit subtle. So I like it at 5 with the max angle maybe turned down to 3 or 2. It's a bit less noticeable, but it's there. But you can also disable it. As you can see, it's more natural feeling as a normal character controller. So yeah, let's jump into the stances. So you can change the default height, the crouching height, the prone height, slide height, and the transition time between all of these stances. So if I crouch with the letter C, you can see I'm now crouching. I can prone with the control key. I can walk with the V key. I can sprint with the left shift, and I can jump with the spacebar. And as you can see, if I jump into the controls, we can change all of these controls. So if I want to walk maybe with the left alt, I press left alt. When I click on this button, it says press a key. I press left alt. And now if I press left alt, you can see I am walking. I like it at V. I guess that's the standard that I've been more accustomed to. So yeah, I can change the crouching height, maybe being the same height as the proning, which I don't know why would you do that. So if I press crouch, you will start crouching and walking at the same speed as the crouching, but if I prone, you can see I'm slower. So I will revert it back to the defaults, and if I change the default height, you can see I'm way higher. And if I prone and crouch, everything in here are multipliers. So it's 75% of 2, 25% of 2, 25% of 2, and so on and so forth. Maybe like if I go to 5, I don't know why would you have 5 standing standing height, which feels so weird. If I prone, if I crouch, and so on and so forth. So if I revert it back to the defaults, I fall back to the ground, and we are here again. So the transition time, it's the time it takes, as I said before, between the stances. If I now crouch, you can see it's way slower. Too slow in my opinion. So 1 is the best for me. Feels smooth. and in here you can disable every stance and every setting. So I can disable everything. Sorry, I can disable everything. I can also disable the jump and all of that. So I cannot sprint, I cannot crouch, I cannot prone, I cannot walk. Only I can be on the default stance, which is standing. So if I enable everything again, I can start doing everything I could before. So I'm thinking about changing the slide key, because for now there's no slide key, it's just the crouch key by default. So if I am sprinting and I press the crouch key, you will slide. But as I said, I'm thinking about adding a separate sliding key, just because it feels weird not to tell the player which key is for sliding. Maybe I could add crouch/slide key, which will clarify everything up, but I feel like having a separate sliding key and being able to change it to the same as the crouch key would be better, and having the player being able to change it at will. So as I said, yeah, you can change the controls. So I can maybe have, I don't know why would you, but I can have the sprints and the jump with space. No, I can't. I think I added it, not being able to. Oh yeah. So I forgot that I added this on the last update. So you cannot change a control to the same key as another. So only separate keys can be assigned. So okay, we can jump into the movement settings. So I can change the movement speed. Be advised, this will change also the head bobbing speed. So it's dependent on the movement, on the current movement speed. So if I now start walking, you can see it's much faster, and the head bobbing is faster too. So these are multipliers too. So walk multiplier would be half of the movement speed. Sprint multiplier will be twice and a quarter from the movement speed. So be advised, this should be so fast it may be so hard to watch. Yeah, too much Sonic like. Yeah, I will revert it back to default, so you can change the speed for every stance. Okay, we can go back, jump into the jump settings, no pun intended. Okay, so we can change the jump force. These are the default settings that I feel like fit the best for parkour-like game. If I show you this, we can go up the stairs, we can do some parkouring over here, I can slide under this, I can jump, and yep, I will go back. So this should be the perfect time to show you this. If I press Q and press 2, I don't know if you are familiar with the Skate franchise, Skate 3 to be exact. In this game you can place markers and go to set marker. So if I've already placed a marker, if I go here for example and I look up, if I press Q and press 1, I can go to the marker, the player stats will reset, the movement speed, everything. Not reset like going to the defaults, but if I'm jumping for example, well, let me try and explain it. If I jump, press Q and oh, it's a bit difficult. Don't mind it, it will just reset the vertical acceleration, the camera movement and everything, and it will assign the position and rotation to the position and rotation that the player had in the moment that they placed the marker. So yeah, I can come here, I can press Q, place marker. I can delete also the marker, so I can no longer go back to the marker. I can place the marker, and I can start, I don't know, parkouring something about around here. I can go back. Oh yeah. Yeah, so as you can see, it was a bit short for my liking, so I could increase the jump force, so now the player will jump higher. It will feel more floaty, but I think I like it at 7.25. You can also increase the gravity multiplier, so if I turn it all the way up to 10, as you can see, jumping is a lot more reduced because the gravity is 10 times stronger. So if I jump, you can see I fall to the ground instantly. You can also have the gravity multiplier be like 0.5 maybe, which will make you float like you're on the moon, maybe an astronaut. Yeah. You can also have zero gravity, so if I jump, I will never go back down. But I can increase the gravity multiplier and pop, I'm back to the ground. So I will go back to the defaults. Buffer time. So with buffer time, you can have maybe 1 second, so you can press spacebar multiple times in 1 second while you are in the air, and the jump will be buffered, so I will press maybe 3 times, so 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I jumped 3 times after I jumped first initially, so this should mean that you have more control over your jumps before you touch the ground. So if I jump here now, you can see, I don't know if you saw, you have 0.2 seconds before touching the ground while you're in the air to jump again. This is just for being sure that you won't miss a jump. For example, if I go up here again, I place a marker, press marker, place marker, and if I jump, you saw I failed that. So if I go back to the marker and I press jump right before I touch the ground, it jumps, so it's a bit more forgiving to the player. And the coyote time, it's not working as intended for now, but I plan on fixing it. So maybe some of you should be familiar with coyote time. It's just the window of time you have when you are falling down that lets you jump while you're in the air, just so the player won't fail a jump also. So if I'm over here, you can see I'm touching the ground, but if I just so barely jump down, that should allow me to jump while I'm floating in the air, falling down, just so it's more forgiving to the player also. So as I said, it's not working as intended for now, but I plan on fixing it on the next update. And you can also hold the jump button, and I'm holding down space, and the player will be jumping repeatedly. If I disable this and I hold the space, as you can see, I only jump once. Okay, let's go to the sliding. So the slide, it's a bit how do I put this? So the speed controls the time it takes for the player to get up. So if I increase it, the player will stand up faster. If I increase the distance, the player should be able to slide farther. but the speed won't change. It's some kind of balancing, so you can have a very long distance and a very long high speed that the slide will more or less be the same. You can also turn it down the speed, and you should be sliding maybe forever. This may be too much, but you can slide under objects. You can change direction while you are sliding, and if you stop sliding while you are underneath cover, so if I reset to default, if I go back and start sliding, you saw I stopped sliding and I'm on the prone stance, and as soon as I go back out, the stance will change to standing. So, oh, I fell. You can also have a cooldown, so maybe you can slide more than once in 3 seconds, for example. So 1, 2, 3, and you can start sliding again. I don't know if you heard, but I was spamming the sliding key. You can only slide once per 3 seconds, but I like it at 1 second. So slide 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Yeah. Defaults, and last but not least, even though I've already explained it a bit, we have the control scheme, so we can change every key from this. Maybe sprint with the D key, which will make you sprint while you are going right. But yeah, you can also change the marker key. Maybe press M to place a marker and press maybe 3, 2, 1, everything you want. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure some of you will be curious as how did I manage to do all this. Maybe some of you will be salty just because you wouldn't do something the same way as I did. But that's programming for you. We are not the same. We don't do everything the same way. There's a lot of different ways to do the same thing. Maybe some way is better than the other, but I like how I did it, and I hope you enjoyed it. So if you're curious to know how I did this, you can place a comment down in the comment section, and depending on how many people are curious to know, I would probably do a tutorial. Be advised, the code for the player controller is more or less 600 to 700 lines of code, maybe 800, and that won't be in only one video, so I would maybe do 3 videos, maybe from 20 minutes to 30 minutes long each, and showing the process. And I will only be showing the first-person controller aspect of it. I will not be showing the map or anything like that, or the menus, just because the menus are a bit of a mess. I don't want to show the code for that. So yeah, as I said, I hope you enjoyed it, and please leave a like, subscribe if you want, and yeah, see you around.